Hey there, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, well, we're doing things a little bit differently. It's going to be deeply personal and, honestly, highly practical. I want you to just step out of your usual routine for a second. Think of me not just as a host today, but really as your personal coach. We're going to walk, just you and me, one-on-one, through this incredibly powerful coaching exercise that actually comes from the VoiceWell tradition. And our main goal for this session, we're going to navigate through that dense, heavy mental fog that so often holds us back, and we're going to actively, intentionally reclaim what we call your internal room. All right, let's dive right in.
So I want to ask you a question, and I really want you to consider it for a moment. What is the climate like inside you right now? As your coach, I'm literally asking you to hit pause. Don't just rush past this. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Just scan your body. What are you feeling? Are you feeling this kind of gathering pressure building up in your chest? Almost like a storm waiting to break? Maybe a tightness in your shoulders or this constant buzzing in your mind? Or do you feel calm? Are you standing in the still air of an open horizon, feeling grounded and clear? Look, whatever the weather is inside you right now, please don't judge it. Just observe it. Just be present with it for a second.
Okay, moving into section 1, entering your internal room, a softer return to self.
Now, before we get to the active work, I want to make something super clear. Self-reflection in this exercise, it is not some clinical intake form. It's definitely not a diagnostic tally where we sit down and list out all your flaws, your mistakes, or unresolved problems. We are absolutely not here to judge. Instead, think of this as simply a gentle, softer return to yourself. You're the occupant of your own mind, and you've finally chosen to just stop and notice the weather inside. We make this return in 3 really simple steps. Step 1, we notice the weather, which we actually just did together. Step 2, we lift the dust covers, and Step 3, we open the windows. I really want you to visualize this architectural metaphor with me. Imagine the internal room of your mind. Now, in your mind's eye, reach out your hand. Grab the edge of those heavy gray dust covers draped over the furniture in there. Those parts of you that you haven't used or visited in a while. Pull those covers right off. Feel the weight of that fabric, watch the dust motes float up into the air, and now walk over to the far wall. Unlatch that heavy glass and push open the windows to the present moment. Just let that fresh air rush in and completely clear out the staleness.
Which brings us to section 2, naming the internal residence, gaining psychological agency.
So here is an absolutely crucial point we need to realize. This newly opened internal room of yours, it isn't empty. It actually has occupants. And to take true control of our inner space, to gain real psychological agency, we have to identify and name these internal residents. We say a certain phrase to ourselves all the time. This is just who I am. We say it when we give up on a habit, right? We say it when we snap or react in anger. We say it when we feel totally paralyzed. But listen, this phrase is just autopilot noise. It's noise that we constantly mistake for our permanent reality. When you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, and that heavy, tired voice in your head sighs and says, well, this is just who I am, I need you to know that is not you speaking. That is a resident in your internal room, acting like they own the place. They're literally sitting on your newly uncovered furniture, pretending to be the master of the house.
But what if, instead of just accepting that voice as the absolute truth, you said, the squatter is here? I really want you to feel the profound shift that happens when you change that language. By naming the resident, calling it the squatter, you instantly gain the psychological agency to separate yourself from it. You're drawing a boundary. Instead of identifying with all that noise, you're just observing it from across the room. And this distinction, it creates a tiny sacred breath of awareness. It creates this vital space between the stimulus and your response. And it's exactly in that quiet breath of awareness, in that newly claimed space, where your true voice actually lives. You are not the noise. You're the one observing the noise.
Let's move on to section 3, facing the fog maker, the anatomy of mental mist.
Now that we know we share this internal space, and we've practiced kind of untangling our true voice from the noise, we have to confront the primary antagonist residing in your internal room. We call it the fog maker. So the fog maker is an entity that uses vagueness and false rigor as its primary weapons. It's that hypercritical presence that demands you have the whole map before it allows you to take even a single step forward. Have you ever felt that specific kind of paralysis? Like you have a goal, a spark of inspiration, maybe a totally new idea you want to pursue, and suddenly this voice demands you have a flawless, zero-risk, 10-year plan mapped out before you can even start. It tells you that if you don't know the exact outcome, well, you shouldn't even try. That's the fog maker. It spreads this thick, disorienting mist across what you almost knew until your forming sentences and fragile ideas just dissolve right back into total confusion and self-doubt.
The fog maker is layered mist, dissolving text, and the paralyzing voice of false rigor. It's just this heavy, suffocating presence in your internal room. When the fog maker takes over, your chest feels tight. Your mind is spinning but producing absolutely nothing. It desperately wants you frozen in place because it feeds on your hesitation. The fog maker's ultimate goal is to convince you that if you don't know absolutely everything, if you aren't perfectly prepared, then you are entirely incompetent and can't do anything at all. It uses that illusion of high standards, that false rigor, to keep you small and stationary in the mist.
All right, here is Section 4, the Wayfinder's Path. Trusting the fragment.
This brings us to our counter strategy. It is time for you to step into your rightful role in this internal room as the Wayfinder. This is the ultimate counterforce to the fog maker. The Wayfinder operates on a completely different, incredibly powerful mindset. See, the Wayfinder does not wait for full clarity. They hold a single illuminated path marker. They trust the next landmark, and they reveal their orientation one step at a time. The Wayfinder inherently knows a fundamental truth about moving through the haze of life and creative work. You do not need the whole map. Waiting for the mist to clear completely? That's a trap. You just need to know the very next step, and you gotta have the courage to take it.
Let's actually put these two entities head-to-head in your mind right now. Just listen to how completely different they sound. First, here's the heavy, demanding, rigid voice of the fog maker. You don't know yet. Nothing is clear enough here. Wait until you can explain it properly. Man, feel how paralyzing and heavy that is? It literally anchors your feet to the floor. Now, take a breath and channel the clear, calm, resolute voice of the Wayfinder. A fragment is enough to begin with. I do not need the whole map. I will begin with what is barely visible. Notice the relief in that second voice? Notice the permission it grants you? That right there is the voice I want you to channel and hold on to for the rest of our session today.
Because this is your reality right now, a fragment of a map, catching a faint light. As your coach, I'm looking you in the eye and reminding you that this single illuminated fragment, it is enough. It's all you need to take your first imperfect step forward. You do not need the whole map to be revealed right now. You don't need a guarantee of success. You don't even need to be able to explain the entire journey to anyone else yet. Do not let the false rigor and the impossible demands of the fog maker stop you from moving toward that one beautiful, faint light. Trust the fragment, step toward it, and when you get there, the next fragment will illuminate.
Finally, Section 5. Your reauthorship prompt, the first fragment. We have done the heavy lifting together today. We've cleared the internal room. We've opened the windows. We've identified that paralyzing voice of the fog maker, and we have deliberately stepped into the empowering shoes of the Wayfinder. Now, as we wrap up this explainer session, I'm handing the active work back over to you. Here is your prompt, your homework to carry with you into the rest of your week. If the fog could speak, what would it say? I want you to acknowledge it, hear it without obeying it. And more importantly, what is the first fragment of language or intuition available to you right now? Take a deep breath in. Let that fresh air of your internal room completely fill your lungs. Find that first fragment, no matter how small or incomplete it feels. Hold on to it and begin.